Welcome one and all to Jack Edgeworth's Reserve here in Oakleigh for one of the biggest days on the Victorian footballing calendar. It is semi-finals time of the Nike FC Cup. Just 4 sides remain in the hunt for cup glory in women's football here in Victoria. And fittingly enough for such a huge occasion, it is 2 huge sides with an absolutely mammoth rivalry getting set to kick us off here on a quite chilly weekday evening here in Melbourne's southeast. We'll take you through the teams briefly, but before we kick off, we should also acknowledge that this fixture is taking place in Nidok Week here on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. And Football Victoria is proud to present this year's Indigenous round taking place this week. The fixtures will correspond with Nidok Week, a week celebrating the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Football Victoria, along with both South Melbourne and Heidelberg United, wish to acknowledge and pay respects to the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet. We acknowledge the deep attachment and relationship that the Aboriginal people have to country. We would also like to pay our respects to elders, past, present and emerging. As we see Akeisha Santu making her way over to conduct the coin toss alongside Heidelberg United captain Steph Galea. And as we await for the result of that, I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight here on the Football Victoria Facebook page, the Football Victoria YouTube page or npl.tv. My name is Joe Lynch. I'll take you through all the action, and it is my absolute pleasure to be joined on the call by Lockie Flanagan. Lockie, thanks for being along for this one. You, in fact, saw South Melbourne qualify for this game in thumping fashion against the Georgies in the last round, the quarterfinals. What are you expecting from tonight? Should we expect a similar heavy margin against the Burgers?
Well, safe to say for South Melbourne, I'm expecting a much sterner test. They have scored so many goals in this Nike FC Cup run that they've been on, but often against far less favoured opposition, which really is the position I dare say that they find themselves in tonight, coming up against a Heidelberg United side in second place in the NPLW Victoria table and looking to get into the Nike FC Cup final for the first time since 2016. Is that right, Joey?
Indeed it is. So they won the tournament in 2016, beating FC Bulleen Lions in that one. South, well, their history, well, it's much more in... it's not as good. Let's just flat out put it that way. They've made the final 3 times, including last season, and are still looking for their first ever Nike FC Cup final trophy. It's the one thing that has eluded them, this famous women's program, since the introduction of the NPLW. But you see that both teams posing for pictures pre-game. Special occasion here, the Nike FC Cup final. Football Victoria and everybody in Victorian women's football thanks Nike FC for their sponsorship of this event and their backing of women's football here in Victoria and indeed around Australia at such an exciting time for the women's game and indeed football in general here in this country, with a Women's World Cup on the way. But there, we see both sides lining up. Kickoff is imminent. So, Lockie, who are the teams lining up? Who should we expect to see tonight?
Well, for South Melbourne, in between the sticks is Jenna Farrow, Holly Murray, Claudia Miocic, Kitcha Sandu, Caitlin Pickett, Jana Lawson, Grace Taranto, Kat Goff, Francesca Iamano, Georgia Candelas and Angeliki Hundalis. The starting 11 for South. Meanwhile, for the Burgers, Mel Maisels is in between the posts. Following the rest of the 11 is Emily Roach, Danielle Wise, Ellie Torre, Felicity Georgopoulos, Stephanie Galea, Catherine Vlahopoulos, Keely Lockhart, Rebecca Burrows, Isabella Wallhead and Elwyn Parbury.
As we see Kat Goff there, forced to give the ball up. She thought she had a throw in. Turns out it was the Burgers. Lockhart has the ball on the wing, trying to play a pass back, but can only find the feet of Lawson. And really, Lockie, for the Burgers, it's all about that. Well, it's that number 4 and that number 7. Danielle Wise and Steph Galea, 1-2 in the Golden Boot race. Absolutely. The only 2 players in this year's league campaign to have broken double digits thus far. They loom as the 2 danger players for South tonight, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's hard enough for any defence to try and deal with one star striker. To have to try and do it against 2 is a massive assignment. They've been neck and neck all season. I think it's 6 of the last 7 league goals for Heidelberg that have been scored by one of Wise or Galea, and I think it's 22 of a total of 32 for the season. So it really is quite remarkable how prolific they both have been alongside one another. It's a very lucky thing to be able to get one star striker. Very rare that you get two at the same time.
Indeed, Steph Galea, the heart and soul of this Burgers side as they try to make their way through the South defence. One of two holdovers in this Burgers side that won the Nike FC Cup in 2016. The other one, Ellie Torre. Although one has to mention that Keely Lockhart, playing for the Burgers tonight, was in the Bulleen side that suffered a 4-0 defeat on that day. Yeah. So she'll be hoping she's picked the winning team this time around. As Goff's throw in the direction of Grace Taranto, she can't turn it around. Has another go now, but she's got just Lockhart and her back. South desperately trying to get the ball out. Candilas, who didn't start on the weekends in their 4-2 loss to Box Hill, now entrusted with leading the line tonight. And we have to comment on already the big selection gamble made by interim coach George Giardis, Lockie Flanagan. We'll get to why he's the interim in a second, but Kat Goff, centre back or right back.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're wanting someone to provide a sort of attacking outlet from deep, I guess she's got the speed to sort of get up and back. She's capable of being a two-way fullback, but yeah, that is a massive, massive surprise to see her playing in that deeper role. But as I said, I think physically speaking, she's got the capability to do it. The other interesting selection for me is obviously young Angeliki Hundalis at centre back as well.
As Goss Balls finds Candilas on the right flank, does enough to win her side a throw-in. So indeed, we did mention George Giardis, the interim coach for South Melbourne. It's a club statement this morning that Coach Sam Young had parted ways with the club. You surprised that announced that on a cup semi-final day, Lockie?
Oh, the timing for me, the decision itself, not necessarily so surprising given the league season that South have had so far. But yeah, the timing is stunning, to be honest. I mean, especially for George Georgiadis to have to come in and play this game. It's about the sternest test you could possibly face in your first match as a manager. I think Calder would probably be the only exception. So very interested to see even what he's able to do in terms of how he sets this side up and what kind of approach he takes into the game, because we know from when he was appointed that he hasn't really had too much time to bed in an ideology or anything like that.
Is the under-19s coach, so South will be hoping there's at least some level of continuity there, as Pickett on the ball trying to bust into the area. Sent away by Wallhead.
Actually, maybe that obviously under-19s connection goes some way to explaining why someone like an Angeliki Hundalis, who we haven't seen a lot of in the league, a handful of times in the Cup this season, is being sort of shown that faith to play in the centre of defence against two experienced forwards.
She's an 05 born defender, is Honduras. Actually crossed over from Heidelberg United. So there is a lot of crossover amongst clubs at a junior level throughout Victorian women's football, of course. Now, Leopolis trying to bust down that right flank here. Different environment here at Jack Edwards Reserve for these players. The Oakley Cannons, the traditional tenants, do not have a side in the NPL women's competition. So the tight confines of Jack Edwards Reserve, a new experience for them. That one charged down by Candilas. Won't result in a turnover. Also should mention in this game that discussions with the referees, it will be an interchange system in action, so there won't be the substitutes board being raised every time a player comes on. However, they will have to enter the field directly in front of our commentary position, so we will endeavour to keep you abreast of the comings and goings. Although if the action's red hot on the field, who knows, maybe the first that we notice a new player on the field will be the same time that you do. Free kick now, South Melbourne. Chance for Santu. the designated set-piece specialist for South Melbourne. Swing this one in. Scored a penalty to open the scoring against Box Hill on the weekends, only for Box Hill to respond with 4 unanswered goals. Sent clear by the Burgers. Galea gets onto it, the number 7. Now a chance for South's inexperienced defence to prove their mettle. And they do okay. Getting the ball out to Miocic, who went forward for the free kick. And then, well, her hopeful lofted ball is gratefully claimed by Melissa Maisels.
Might have been a better place to listen to her right back for this evening, because she had Kat Goff screaming at her to play the short pass or even carry the ball up the flank. But in the end, that sort of floated ball essentially just didn't really have any cut nor thrust.
Do you think that's just the lack of psychic connection there, Lockie? Miocic, the centre-back, not used to playing with Kat Goff as the right-back. That unspoken connection, that knowledge of what the other one wants just isn't quite there yet, so we'll see a few of those tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to be teammates. It's a very different thing to be, teammates in an 11 where you play side by side. You get a really intricate understanding of what players do in certain phases of play, what kind of runs they make, that sort of thing. It's a lot to adjust, especially when someone like Kat Goff is ostensibly still learning how to play the position that she's in tonight as well.
There's Lockhart getting forward to try to pressure Miocic. Eventually, the young centre-back gets it to Goff. Goff trying to thread a ball in behind the lines, which I imagine will be South's preferred route to goal throughout this game. Hit on the counter. There's now Handoulis coming forward. Looking for Pickett on the left. She's going to have to go back and get it. There's Torre for company. Gets it past her. Gandilas. Pickett. South unable to get a ball into the middle before it's stolen away by the Burger captain, and then puts Pickett on her rear end. Let's call it that. Albeit it did end up with South Melbourne, so blushes perhaps spared there, Lockie Flanagan.
It's been a frenetic start to the game so far. I'd actually be pretty pleased with how things have been going if I was watching on as a South Melbourne fan. No shots on target as yet, but certainly some enterprising play.
There's Yamano now trying to bust in for her fellow number 22. Owen Parbury gets in.
Interesting to note as well that Grace Taranto seems to be playing a slightly more advanced role than we've maybe been accustomed to seeing from her over the years.
Indeed, she did play as a 6 against Box Hill as well, albeit the South Melbourne midfield in that game was rather soundly beaten by the Sophia Sakalis and Mindy Barbieri-led Box Hill midfield. Farrow, the Tasmanian goalkeeper. Hasn't been a debut season with South to remember for Farrow. She entered last week's league game with the second worst save percentage in the league, and then 4 goals conceded won't have helped that figure. But Yamano now falls to the turf, and referee Shab Roshan will adjudicate that it is a South Melbourne free kick inside the Burgers' half, with Miocic getting set to take this one. Kat Goff sort of stealthily, I guess you could call it, moving up on the right flank. Santu moving into the middle, so the right back and the left back getting forward. Meanwhile, Big Pack forms on the edge of the area.
It's an interesting decision for Parbury as to where she positions herself, although it does look like it's going to be a direct free kick.
Miocic sends it in. Maisels, watching it all the way, makes a strong collection on the edge of her 6-yard box. Maisels, of course, very familiar name for followers of the A-League Women competition, serving as the backup for Casey Dumont. With Jeff Hopkins' championship, 2-time defending championship winning side, Melbourne Victory. One imagines that Maisels was probably just as shocked as all of us watching on that she wasn't brought on to that grand final. Casey Dumont in the absolute wars. But now she's the undisputed number 1 for Heidelberg. Only 15 goals conceded this year in the league for Heidelberg. Only Calder's defensive record is better.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're talking about Jenna Farrow's save percentage before. I'm pretty sure Mel Maisels is right up at the other end. I think third top and the most saves made in the league as well. So that only 15 goals conceded tally for Heidelberg, which is equal second best, if memory serves me right.
Yes.
Is a large part down to the efforts of Mel Maisels.
It's now ball in the hands of Parbury. She'll get it back. Looking for Galea, picked out by Santu. Hondulas, back to Miocic. On the books of Perth Glory in the A-League Women. Forward for Lawson. Ball whipped in. Maisels in two minds, falls down. And in the end, the Burgers survive. But nervy moments for, well, the favourites tonight, Lockie Flanagan.
Yeah, and it was a brilliant delivery down the right-hand side from Jana Lawson. It was just a nice move in general from South, and somewhat surprisingly, Georgia Candelas wasn't able to get any contact on what was a very inviting cross.
Pickett now. She'll lose the ball. Ball out. It's going to fall to Goff. Plenty of time on the ball for Kat Goff. Taranto. In the end, opts to shoot with a very tame effort, which is comfortably claimed by the Burgers keeper. Goff now working against Lockhart, forces Lockhart to go back, and now the long ball forward. Danger not cleared. Wise is lurking. Murray gets there first. Wise continuing to monster the defence. All the way back to Farrow. It's not cleared. Galea couldn't make proper contact with it. Goal kick South, but there you go. The two danger players for the Burgers, Lockie Flanagan. Danielle Wise with the press. Galea just unable to get that one on target.
Yeah, that's one of the things, other than what she does on the ball, Danielle Wise, that I think she really doesn't get enough credit for, is that sort of press work. Really aggressive in her attempts to sort of win back the ball high up the pitch. We saw her force Emily Shields into an error to get the opening goal against Calder on the weekend, and she scores plenty of goals, or is able to create plenty of goals, just by harrying the back four and the keeper that she's got to contend with on any given day. I can never afford to sort of take the foot off the gas and relax.
Cleared away by South, only as far as Roach. Now Francesca Yamano, bit of space on the left to operate in for South Melbourne, but Yamano's touch heavy, can't get the pass to Pickett. And Honduras will have to reset for the side in blue. Sandu. Across to Miocic, has to get rid of it quickly for Taranto, bit of triangle work for South, but then heavy touch from Kat Goff, and it's kept in the end by Rebecca Burrows. Well done by the Burgers, number 10. Then it's going to get played central to Roach. Emily Roach. Maybe she was thinking about the shot there. Instead, she's going to put it out to Galea on the right. Steph Galea trying to whip the ball in, took a touch. South trying to play out from the back. And eventually they'll win a free kick. So 15 minutes gone in this one. Score remains South Melbourne 0, Heidelberg 0. And really, Farrow hasn't had to make a save yet, has she, Lockie Flanagan? I mean, Heidelberg probably shading play, but not able to produce shots on target yet.
Yeah, look, to be honest, I think South will be really buoyed by their opening 15 minutes in this game.
Taranto shoots again, puts it wide, although appealing, and indeed it did take a touch off a Heidelberg defender. So, chance perhaps for a bit of set-piece magic can so often, when you're the underdog and you need a moment of, well, dare I say it, magic of the cup, set-piece can deliver it. Roughly a third of South's goals in the league have come by set pieces. Because they scored the penalty against Box Hill. Sanzu whips it in. Taranto was lurking. Instead, it was headed clear by Lockhart. 50-50s in the midfield. Comes out to Wise. She swarms by two, and there you go. Yamano and Goff have come all the way over to the left flank, and she's going to stay there. Although Sandu's now jogging back as well. So who's playing right back for South Melbourne? At the moment, it's no one. Ains, the Burgers, perhaps, are going to exploit that and look to shift the ball. Instead, they're going to stay central. Burrows. Roach. Galea, first time back in the direction of two teammates. Neither can claim it. But have another go now. Burrows. Galea, who's come central. Ball skied in. Difficult for Farrow, but she claims it with Wise coming at her. Not as simple as it perhaps appeared, Lockie Flanagan.
No, not at all. I was anxious for her. You saw her sort of readjusting the feet quite a few times just to make sure her position was in the right spot. It looked comfortable in the end, but anytime Keely Lockhart is playing a delivery into the area that sits up in the way that did, you're always feeling, I think, a little bit nervy as a keeper.
It's Farrow. She kept in Ellie Torres' pass forward and uses that to boot it forward. However, it's going to go straight back to the Burgers. So Burgers beginning to just wrest control of the midfield and wrest control of this game, you'd have to say. Now beginning to make Farrow do a bit more work as they come down the right flank once more, but can't be knocked in a direction of any teammates. Keely Lockhart was the closest on hand for the Burgers, but comfortable collection for the South Custodian.
There's another solid claim for Farrow as well, especially when they bounce up right at you in that way. If she spilled that, that was an easy tap in for Heidelberg.
Well, Wise brought down fairly. Taranto. South looking to break down the left. Yamano. Back to Taranto. Has Pickett in front of her. That's where it goes. Back to Francesca Yamano. Santu. Burgers able to set up in their defensive block. And in the end, that was never going anywhere except the gloves of Melissa Maisels. Lawson takes it quickly over the top, looking for Candilas. Trying to cut inside, but runs into the brick ball that is Isabella Wallhead. The Perth-born, Perth Glory A-League women representative. Her first stint out east. And certainly likes to throw herself about. Thinks she does have one of, if not the highest success rate for duels in the league thus far this season.
And not afraid to throw herself forward sometimes as well. We saw earlier making that very nice darting run out of central defence to carry the ball forward and progress the play. I know you're a big fan of central defenders who can carry the ball, Joey. Big,
tall central defenders that will advance with the ball. Of course, a role at an NPL women's level. We'll pick this back up after the call. Oh! Taranto! Hollywood in her eyes. The danger's not cleared. Miocic shot deflected away. Loggy, we were about a second from going viral.
Oh, my goodness me. I'm not sure how much Grace Taranto not knew about it. She obviously knew the ball was coming in her direction, but
I mean, you've got to buy a ticket.
How much sort of technical intention there was. She just kind of threw both legs backwards at it. It was an unorthodox one, but it was nearly, as you said, a viral one as well.
Another opportunity now for South on that left flank. Sanzu. In towards the near post. Crave away from Maisels. That's where it goes initially. Back in. Players were at the back peg. Swallowed up by the Burgers. Now it's the transition maybe on appeals for a handball. Waved away, but Wise's press immediately comes up. And the Burgers collect. Georgopoulos carrying it forward for Wise. Coming through with venom, putting her body on the line. Hundulis puts it out for a throw-in.
Great work from Hundulis there. It would have been very easy, being such a young player, to hesitate when you have a big decision to make, but came through the back of Danielle Wise and good defensive stoppage.
Now Burgers coming again. Burrows. Well, did the difficult stuff. It was the easy bit afterwards that didn't come off. Maybe intended for Vlahopoulos. But she's made amends, winning the ball back. Burrows. Burrows, round two. Coughs it up. Only to get it back, maybe. No. Pickett comes away with it. Yamano now looking for the run of Candilas, but she's not going to get there. "22 minutes gone, Lockie, about halfway through this opening half. I mean, how's the game unfolding? Is it going the way you predicted coming in? Is one team playing better than the other?
Not at all, to be honest with you. It's been, just generally speaking, a really, really end-to-end contest. Really, really good value for the neutrals so far, in my opinion. Plenty of play from penalty box to penalty box really quickly. One thing I am noticing, though, is that as the game progresses and Heidelberg sort of start to settle in after South Melbourne started the game pretty solidly, is just that press work high up the pitch, the counter-pressing from Heidelberg to try and win the ball back once they've lost possession. We've seen South Melbourne in that back four already cough it up a few times because someone like a Rebecca Burrows or a Danielle Wise or a Keely Lockhart has been just right on the first touch the minute they've lost the ball. And South have got to be alert to that, because obviously if Heidelberg can win back possession in those moments of counter-press, it's not too hard for them to score goals, as we've seen, if it gets to the right person, or people in this case for them.
As Burrows was swarmed, then eventually it was the third defender that got her. Her sliding challenge coming in on Candilas, infuriating the South faithful. Applause from the Burger faithful. These two teams, ladies and gentlemen, one and all, our historic rivals.
They just don't like each other.
Galea can't get the ball in. Candilas couldn't make touch. It was a fresh airy. Allowed the Burgers to nip in. Vlahopoulos. Roach trying to turn. Brought down by her opposite number 2. Holly Murray wins a free kick. Now, Steph Galea. I remember an earlier game, early this season. I think it might have actually been round 1 against South Melbourne. Galea with an absolute peach of a free kick.
I was going to say, Joey, my mind went to the exact same place. I was like, this is Galea territory.
Bit of a congress. Now over the site of the foul. Looks like it will be a 3-player wall for South Melbourne. Referee Chabrochet just moving them back a bit.
They've been in lockstep with one another, Steph Galea and Danielle Wise in the league, but they've also scored the same amount of goals in the Cup as well, so a good chance for her to break ahead in all comps.
Well, it looks like Galea will have this one unopposed. Wise waiting at the top of the box. Steph Galea, well, stars in her eyes, wanted that near post. Farrow had it covered. I mean, was on target, but not really the sort that's going to beat a keeper. But the press coming in, and that is going to beat the keeper. And it will be Keely Lockhart. Didn't know much about it. Charging down, Farrow's attempts to clear, but it's 1-0.
And that's the press work again, Joey, that's provided Heidelberg with the profit. I mean, Keely Lockhart and Danielle Wise, the minute that free kick got turned over and the ball was brought back into play by Jenna Farrow, they were right on that South Melbourne defence, closing down every single touch. And almost immediately that heat proved too much for the young South defence and for Jenna Farrow to have to deal with. And the unrelenting Keely Lockhart grabbing a very, very important goal.
Her third goal of the Nike FC Cup game, so now she moves in front. on the Nike FC Cup goal scoring charts. Really have spread the goals around in the cup, haven't they, the Burgers?
Exactly.
But I think, Lockie, that really does speak to why Heidelberg are having such a good season. They are the favourites. On paper, they've got the better squad, but their press, it's unrelenting. They're doing the hard work. They're not just coming into games and expecting to win, to use a bit of a memorific phrase, but they're coming in, they're doing the hard work, and they're earning every win and every goal they score.
Absolutely. I mean, that sort of approach when you're just not giving an opposition team like time on the ball is going to win you so many extra opportunities, and already we see it again here.
As Roach looking forward for Galea, appeals for the offside flag, wasn't coming, Galea whips it back in. And comfortably collected by Farrow.
It's also a unity of purpose as well, Joey, like the way that front three work together to create those sort of turnovers. You can't just press with one person, you have to do it as a collective unit. So clearly, Jono Clemente has got them very, very well drilled.
So smiles all round now amongst the Heidelberg faithful on this broadcasting side. A bit more downtrodden faces amongst the South Melbourne aficionados to our left. The Burgers now leading 1-1 thanks to the hustle and bustle of both Danielle Wise, but it is Keely Lockhart that will likely have the goal attributed to her. The Burgers number 9. Now it's their 10. Burrows on the ball. Vlahopoulos looking for Galea. Came off a bread basket. Made her forced to go back and get it. And in the intervening period, Yamano stole it away, only to give it straight back. Santu trying to play a 1-2 with Yamano under the immediate pressure of Steph Galea. Twisting one way and then the other. Santu falls to Pickett now. Trying to cut inside. Pickett looking for her number 9 in the positional sense. Only to have it intercepted by the Burgers, but the woman with number 9 on her back for South gets it back. Murray now trying to float it across. Jenna Lawson knows where the goal is. Round 1 defender, cuts it back, top of the box, Murray. Well, went for placement and subterfuge, overpower. Probably the right call, given that the defence was charging her down, but Maisels had it all the way.
Yeah, safe pair of hands, comparatively speaking, at the moment, Mel Maisels.
But Burrows, she's round 1. Galea on her right, Steph Galea. Saved down low by Jenna Farrow.
Don't want to sound like a broken record, Joey, but again, Heidelberg just doing oh so well to win the ball back out the pitch. South have got to have a think about how they can overcome that.
Well, speak of the devil and he shall appear. The Burgers have forced another turnover. Wallhead bustling forward, trying to slide it inside for Vlahopoulos. Appeals for a free kick, not given. Burgers win it back, however. Only for then, I think it was that Shabroshan getting a touch?
May well have been.
Then it will be a drop ball. So Burgers getting forward in numbers. And then the cheeky attempt from range. Georgopoulos trying to catch Farrow unawares. Tasmanian keeper says, no you don't. Lawson getting it forward. And you expressed your frustration there, Lockie, so we'll come back to you after this play's broken down for what caught your eye, and now as Torre gets on the ball, what did you see there that you didn't like?
Well, look, I was sort of saying before about how South have got to maybe readjust to try and... I'll leave this to you,
This
Joey.
ball over the top. Is this the moment for South? Open goal. Offside. It was through. It was joy. It was fun. They had the Burgers on the run, but the joy didn't last because the referee's flag went up.
Oh, and it's the right call, Joey, but feels like harsh.
And near the Burgers, and the offside flag will now deny Steph Galea.
It's a shame as well because it's just it was such a good move from South Melbourne. Unfortunately, offside flag denying them. But just going back to the earlier play, Joey.
Before you were rudely interrupted.
Yeah, so by goal-mouth chances. What a shame. South Melbourne obviously having to sort of make a change to deal with this high press. A defensive midfielder like Holly Murray, when the ball's coming out of the back four, it's being passed around there, you've got to be showing for the ball. She was stuck behind a Heidelberg defensive midfielder who was tight to her, covering her, marking her out of the possession. And part of your job as a defensive midfielder is to be someone who can help build up moves from deep. And if you're hiding behind someone else nearby, you're going to be selling your teammates short, I think.
Is one of the great curses of the six in the Australian system. Hiding in cover shadow, making it look to the coach like you're showing for the ball, but in a position where you're never really going to get it. We saw it a bit in the, I'm not sure what we're calling them, the Under Matildas game against the Philippines. Same principle. So something perhaps for the South Melbourne dugout to have a word with at half-time. Sandu delivers this ball in. Mazels didn't have to move. Mazels, of course, well-travelled, as well as those stints with victory. Played for Canberra and Perth Glory. Did you know also, Lockie, that in 2017 she represented Team Australia at the Maccabi Games?
I actually did not know that. Thank you for letting me know.
Santu boots the ball forward. Picked straight out by the Burkers. Parbury. Across the field to Galea. Bit of time. Across the box. Cat Goff, shoulder to shoulder with Lockhart. Wins out. The bigger body is Cat Goff. Nobody has ever accused Cat Goff of lacking physical gifts, that pace and power. She wins out on that one.
And sort of relatively inconsequential though it might have been, I think you do see in those kind of moments why she's been trusted and is capable of doing a job at right back.
But now the turnover. Santu against Vlahopoulos, and she's going to give away a free kick. He's the South Melbourne captain. Very dangerous area, just outside the box. Would require something rather audacious from Steph Galea from here. Imagine she'll look for a teammate in the middle. But you can see the Burgers almost smelling blood in the water. South have 11 players in their own penalty area. Bit of a green light for the Burgers to get some bodies forward.
Yeah, if I wasn't in the box for Heidelberg, I'd be queuing up on the edge of it.
Well, Galea and Wise are in there. Comes through. Glancing header. I believe it was Lockhart that was bursting forward. Couldn't direct it goalward.
I mean, just look at how many Heidelberg shirts have already come across to try and lock this ball in the corner.
I mean, everybody except Mazels is in the South Melbourne half. Well inside the South Melbourne half. Like now, we've seen the turnover. Candilas, what she got in front of her. Yamano on the left, but she's not going to be able to get the pass away before Galea just nips in. Pickett doing a bit of pressing of her own. Tackle falls to Taranto. Murray. Now Sandu. Sandu down the left for Yamano. Francesca Yamano looking for that byline. Rides the challenge, wins the corner.
And that corner the move started initially actually from someone who I was slightly surprised to be seeing playing in defensive midfield today, but a nice little touch and turn from Grace Taranto to switch the focus of the attack, and I actually think she's been pretty solid playing in that position so far.
Certainly had a tough task with the Burgers' numbers in the midfield. Also tried that audacious bicycle kick. Will we see one of those again? Headed clear before it could reach any South player by Wallhead.
Dare I say, living up to the name there, Joey? Sorry.
Santul keeps it in. Ball in towards the goals. Mainzel's had to adjust. And then her attempted throw out is blocked away. Falls to a Burger defender over, and then discretion, the better part of valour. Boots it clear. Now something much more manageable. Roach. Across to Lockhart. Has time. Lockhart at the double.
And a brilliant goal from Keely Lockhart. Again, she's an unrelenting player. She just does not let up. Struck with real venom. I think, look, Farrow will look back on that one and certainly say that she could have done better. She got a fingertip to it, but not quite enough. It almost just slipped underneath the outstretched hand and off the post and in from Keely Lockhart. But I want to shout out Danielle Wise as well, because she made that run cutting across the back four, and that was what freed the space for Keely Lockhart to fire.
Play resuming here at Jack Edwards Reserve, and now the Burgers, nominally the hosts, we can call them, have a 2-goal lead. Keely Lockhart with a brace. Lawson trying to answer back for South. Ball in Pickett. Can't bring it down. Gets there in front of Galea. Santu, Pickett, 1-2. Yamano leaves it for her captain. Yamano, ball in. Comfortable collection from Maisels.
Does 2-0 feel a little harsh on South Melbourne, Joe? I'm not sure. I'm trying to make sense of it in my own head.
I think off the balance of play between the penalty areas, definitely not. However, based on the actual quality of chances that the Burgers have created, maybe slightly harsh. Farrow hadn't had much to do outside from perhaps claiming wafted balls in, but on that occasion just unable to get across her goals and meet Lockhart. Have to give credit for Lockhart. You could see the second she found that pocket of space, she knew what she was doing.
I mean, it goes back to what we were saying before about, you know, a team operating with a unity of purpose. Like, she knows that she has that chance to shoot as soon as the pocket of space is there for her, and it was created brilliantly by the run that Danielle Wise made just to drag a defender.
Ball bounces around, falls to Taranto, offside, flag goes up. Now, you made a disagreement sound there, although I will point out, Lockie Flanagan, assistant, does have a better view than us.
No, that's true. She definitely does have a better view than I, but I thought it was tight. It was a tight call.
Of course, no VAR or automated offside adjudication in the NPL. Or the Nike FC Cup. I think I can speak for all of us, Lockie, when I let our Nike sponsors know that no need to fund the introduction of VAR either. I think we're pretty happy with that.
No.
Falls now for Roach. Trying to dink a ball through. Will fall to Farrow. Do you feel, Lockie, if the Burgers get another one, especially if they get one before half-time, it's game over?
Yeah, I think I'd probably be saying that leaves South Melbourne with a mountain too big to climb. They did show in the last meeting with the Burgers that they can get back into the game.
There's Burrows trying to find Wise there, picked out.
Yeah, but 3 is I think for any team in the league, let alone one who are sitting second last as South are, to try and return or rescue that kind of deficit against Heidelberg is not going to be easy at all.
Taranto now trying to carry the ball forward, charged down by Lockhart. As we mentioned, Keely Lockhart on the losing side of that 2016 Nike FC Cup final with Pauline. Doing all she can to get another go at it. Albeit we haven't mentioned them yet in this first half, Lockie, but there is another semi-final to come. FC Bulleen Lions against Calder United, and effectively at this point, it's not unfair to say that the Nike FC Cup, well, basically it's Calder's to lose. 4 straight Nike FC Cups. Through to the semis again. They've only conceded 4 goals this league season, top of the table. I guess, can you see this Heidelberg side, if they are able to hold on here, beating Calder in a one-off?
Well, look, I was going to say, I think that's what makes making the final all the more important, because Calder have sort of got into their classic Calder canter, if you will, where they're leading out in front and looking oh so comfortable. So finishing as premiers in the NPLW Victoria probably has passed the Burgers by. But if they make it into a grand final, if they make it into a final, of course Calder is still going to beat Bulleen, but they've shown earlier this season that they can be competitive against Calder. They did get a win in the first game against Calder that they played this year. Less said about the second one, the better. But they are capable in a one-off game. So I think...
Oh, almost disaster there. Sorry to cut you off, Lockie. Angeliki Honduras almost put the ball in her own net. The danger's not cleared, though. Wise.
Oh.
Surely Danielle Wise is going to want that one back.
Is the last player on the pitch, with apologies to Steph Galea, that you would have expected to blow a chance like that.
And I mean, the way we were talking, Lockie, as you said, 3-0 before half-time, that could have killed this game dead.
Goodness me.
I mean, Heidelberg have to face off against Bayside United this weekend. No doubt Coach John O'Clemente keen to load manage. That's what you need to do in a long season. So 3-0 advantage certainly would have put his mind at ease if he wanted to start doing that. As our 4th official prepares to indicate that 1 minute of time will be added on. Not a lot of stoppages in this half, has there? There hasn't been a lot of stoppages, has there, Lockie?
No, not really. It's honestly, despite the fact that Heidelberg are now on the scoreline in a decent bit of control, could be even more of a firm grip if Danielle Wise had have tapped into that empty net. Maybe another chance here, though.
Galea keeps it alive. No, she didn't. Will be a goal kick.
But yeah, look, despite the fact that the scoreline does have Heidelberg in control, it's been a pretty free-flowing game, to be quite frank. I think South will maybe head to the break feeling a little bit hard done by.
Well, Miocic sent that one straight down the throat of Galea. Her shot sent back from whence it came. Lockhart. Nutmegs, Cat Goff. Cat Goff avoids early retirement by winning the ball back. But Lockhart returns serve. Oh, Lockhart, she's one out. Cat Goff comes through like a steam train. And it's play on.
Great battle. Really, really good battle between those two.
Lawson keeps it in. No, she didn't.
Good call from the 4th as well to award this throw to Heidelberg.
Barbary sends it across. Torre gives chase as the 1 minute of added time is made official here at Jack Edwards Reserve. Is there time for one last foray forward from either side? A goal for either would have massively different connotations. Taranto can't bring it down. Do the Burgers have time? Well, doesn't matter. They've lost it. Cat Goff. Wayward pass. Falls to Pickett. Goff now finds Lawson. Has Taranto in front of her. Pass went behind her. And then her attempt to find Lawson sets her a real task. She finds a way to win the ball. Delivery in. Delivery in! This game remains alive. Lawson with an absolute miracle. Don't think she meant it. Doesn't matter. On the stroke of half-time, life remains in South Melbourne's Nike FC Cup campaign, Lockie Flanagan.
Oh, my goodness me. That next goal in this game was just so pivotal to deciding which direction in which the fixture was going to head. Oh, Heidelberg, let's not forget that minutes ago, they were not that far away from wrapping this game up, but an unbelievable goal off the cross from Jana Lawson has certainly turned this into a second half that hangs firmly in the balance. I mean, Mel Maisel, she's been so comfortable over the course of this opening 45, and then
Just
out of nowhere,
it.
just caught completely unawares.
Absolute miracle goal from Lawson. Don't ask her to repeat it. Doesn't matter, though. It's 2-1 now at Jack Edgewood Reserve. Coach Jono Clemente heading across to the dressing rooms now. Well, his side's still leading, 2-1. We have to point that out. Berger's still maybe not well on top, but on top in this one. But now the dynamic of the game shifts completely thanks to that goal in the dying embers of the opening stanza. So it really sets us up for a really entertaining second half, one would hope. Certainly more so than had the Burgers scored and made it 3-0 at the end of that half. But you'll have the countdown clock for company as you await that second stanza, about 15 minutes or so. But be sure to join us on the other side on npl.tv or Football Victoria's Facebook and or YouTube pages. Heidelberg players making their way back onto the pitch. Welcome one and all back to Jack Edwards Reserve here in Melbourne's southeast, the home of the Oakley Cannons normally, but tonight it is playing host to one of always the highlights of the Football Victoria season, the Nike FC Cup. It's semi-finals time, just 4 teams remain, and heading into the second half of this one, it is Heidelberg United leading South Melbourne 2-1. 1 foot perhaps in the door of the decider. A chance maybe to add to their 2016 crown. South, however, well, despite their foes really shading the game, that fierce press in the opening half really giving them fits, they were able to give themselves a reason to hope very, very late on. A goal in the final 30 seconds, final 15 seconds really, of the opening half, giving them a bit of life. Jana Lawson's cross-come shot definitely turning into the latter and reducing the deficit to 1. My name is Joey Lynch. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Football Victoria Facebook page, the Football Victoria YouTube page, or NPL.TV. It is my great pleasure to once again be joined by Lockie Flanagan here in the scaffold at the Oakley Cannons. Lockie, what are you looking for here in this second stanza?
Well, to be honest, from a neutral perspective, I'm looking for much more of the same. It was a great first half that we had here at Jack Edwards Reserve, and as a competition it looked for a brief moment right before the halftime whistle that it was going to be done and dusted, but Daniel Wise missed an open goal, and not long after that, of course, you mentioned Jana Lawson's cross-come shot that's made this into a very, very interesting game in the second 45. The big question is, though, South Melbourne's biggest problem all throughout that opening half was the press that Heidelberg brought, the counter press as well when they lost possession, that made it a really, really difficult time for goalkeeper Jennifer and just the back four as a collective to keep possession and try and progress the ball out of the pitch. If they've been able to at halftime make some tweaks, make some adjustments, you know, the coach has been able to say the right things and they can work through that a little bit more consistently, they're well and truly up for this. But you have to think, if Heidelberg continue to force those turnovers high up the pitch in the rate that they did in the opening 45, a third goal is looking a matter of when and not if for them. But I'm looking forward to answering that question in this half. That's the thing.
So say we all, as the Burgers getting set to kick us off here. We'll be kicking from left to right of your screen here in this second half. Now, as we mentioned in the opening 45 minutes, interchange system in action here at Jack Edwards Reserve, so subs not being indicated by the substitutes board. However, we will bring any that we see to your attention. However, Lockie, just casting my eye across the players from both sides, I don't think we have seen a change yet.
Oh, I've casted my eyes over as well, and I'm happy to come with you on that one, although while you're calling the play, I'll continue casting my eyes across the field.
Here's Candilas. Sends that one over to Lawson on the right. Comes back in. Candilas, hustling and bustling, goes down. Still fighting for it. Sent back in. Open goal. Must be. It is. Remarkable scenes at Jack Edwards Reserve. We were pontificating if they were down and out at 2-0. And then less than 60 seconds before the halftime break, it's 2-1. And now, less than a minute into the second stanza, South Melbourne somehow have brought this game back to 2-2, Lockie Flanagan.
Oh, and how valuable is that crazy shot right before the whistle looking from Jana Lawson now? I mean, Heidelberg have looked so comfortable defensively for most of this game, but they've grabbed one. It was Grace Taranto who was unmarked at the back post, and really pleased to see her get that goal, because we've seen her from that deeper midfield position she's been playing today routinely make those penalty box entries throughout the course of this game. Basically all the other times she's made those sorts of runs, hasn't been able to get the delivery, but that time the ball loops over the top, and pretty solid finish from the fullback turned midfielder, and we've got a game on our hands.
As the Burgers, you can see the intent they were showing straight from the kickoff. think Steph Galea took that equaliser just a tad personally, judging from her expression. However, the resulting move forward results in a turnover. But, well, how much weight do you put in momentum, Lockie Flanagan? We've seen South come back and erase a 2-goal deficit. Can they now ride that to a win and yet another Nike FC Cup final appearance?
Oh, can they ride it to another goal? I think I'm willing to go as far as that, but I think whether or not momentum can ride them to another win is a different question, because a lot of that is reliant on Heidelberg failing to score, and I think that's still very much up for debate, particularly as this game goes on. And you'd imagine the game begins to settle into more of a rhythm, although South with the impetus at the moment.
Lawson found by Yamano on the right flank, whips it in low across the turf. Blocked away by Georgopoulos. And I really think, Lockie, that you can't discount the importance of that late goal for South Melbourne. We talked about their struggles this season in the first half. Their second bottom of the league. We'll pick this back up. Could it be the third goal of the game? Side netting. But South well and truly with their tails up. We talked about it, Lockie. Their second bottom of the league. Coach Sam Young departing the club. It was announced this morning. I imagine the players knew beforehand, but their coach leaving was announced this morning. They've got an interim in the dugout. If they'd had to sit in that dressing room at halftime, down 2-0, you can just imagine heads dropping, but it wasn't. It was 2-1, the late goal, and you've seen how well they've started in this second stanza.
Absolutely, and in particular, Georgia Candelas has come out of the second half different player.
Lockhart, she's on a hat-trick. Farrow denying her that mark, denying her the match ball.
Yeah, I mean, so many times in the opening 45 for Georgia Candelas having to do that job as the central striker was on an island, but been electric in the opening 5 minutes of the second 45.
Galea now blazing across the face of goal. Well, indeed, Lockie, you asked for entertainment. And, well, it's been 4 and a bit minutes, but are you entertained?
Do I have to answer that? It's almost a rhetorical.
We can only hope that the remaining 40 and a bit minutes can match what we have seen in these opening exchanges as Mijicic looking down the right flank. Andulas sends it out, falls to Goff. Heavy touch, she loses the ball. And then in response, I believe that was Murray just acting as a bit of a firefighter, putting the ball out for a corner kick.
That's the question, isn't it, Joey? It's been sort of electric opening 5 minutes, but from which South have been able to profit in the chaos. But how long does the game stay like that? And what happens once we settle down a little bit?
Well, Burgess fans behind the goals. Ring out in anticipation. Goes to the top of the box. Beats everybody. Sent clear by South. Burgers looking to lock it in. Big collision. Candelas did well. Falls to Pickett. Murray has attention at her back. Loses that. Santur, Galea, the two captains. Yamano, tight areas, nutmegs her foe. But subsequently South lose possession only to win it straight back perhaps. Lawson on the left, who's in the box. Candelas feints. Santur. Maisels urging her defenders to get out of the box. Candelas charge it down. Now it's South with that forward press. Lawson sends it in. Maisels saw it late, reacted and falls on it.
At this point, Joey, I'm starting to wonder if the 211s just changed shirts at halftime and we've been caught unawares, because South Melbourne are just all over Heidelberg at the minute. And that chance, or half chance really, after the cross from Jana Lawson came because South had come high up the pitch and won the ball back. And Heidelberg committed a sort of uncharacteristic turnover, which is what we saw, those turnovers deep a lot from South.
Space now on the right flank for the Burgers. Sorry to cut you off, Lofty. We'll finish your thoughts after this chance. I can come back to you right now if Steph Galea turns that one over.
I was just saying that those sort of defensive turnovers are what we saw so many times from South Melbourne. And now at the moment the shoe is on the other foot.
Sandul played into space by Taranto, left-footed effort. I think that was a cross that didn't bend back in time, and it ends up being a collection for Melissa Maisels. Well, certainly a spectacle here tonight at Jack Edgewood Reserve. I was about to say the punters getting their money's worth, but it was free admission, so they're getting more than their money's worth for this one. To point out, this is just the second ever state knockout cup meeting between these two sides, only once previously, back in 2013.
Quarter-final, was it?
Yes, quarter-final, back in 2013. South Melbourne won that game 3-0 at the State Football Centre. South went on to lose to Sandringham in the final.
I was about to say, what happened in the final, Jack?
Yes. Sandu getting down the left, wins a corner. I think that game happening so long ago, and the records, you can see the result, but you look online, I've no idea who scored, Lockie. I looked on several websites. No clue as to who actually scored for South Melbourne in that contest.
It would appear that we smacked the same dead end there.
Yes. Sandu now. Both arms up, big stretch. Whips it in towards the near post, met by the Burgers. Lockhart does well to force the throw in rather than the corner. Pickett tries to play it central. In the end, it will be a handball. So, set-piece areas here for South Melbourne. No, drop ball hit Shabroshan. Apologies, couldn't make it out from our vantage point here at Jack Edwards Reserve.
We could hear over our shoulders, Joey, that Jono Clemente was very confused about what looked as though it might have been a free kick initially, but yes, drop ball.
Sandul, she's getting much further forward in the second half. Can't keep that one in though, goal kick.
And look, it's working well for her so far to be taking up those more advanced positions. I mean, I think she's a really good technical player and, you know, obviously assigned to the corner balls, so she can get a decent delivery into the area in that advanced position.
Nicic switches play. Pickett, well, you could see, I won't repeat what she said, but you could see her immediate reaction. Back there covering for Sandul. She's been rounded by Galea. Change coming from the Burgers bench. And it is, well, as far as handy additions go, Lockie Flanagan, it's a big one. A-League women's player, capped at international level, just in recent weeks, Grace Jarley.
Yeah, I mean, super sub almost doesn't quite do it justice. I mean, South Melbourne have been excellent to start this second 45. The opening 10 minutes, they've completely been in control. I mean, Jenna Farrow has hardly, if at all, been tested, but it's going to be a very different equation when Grace Jarley is out there, because not only is she a well-credentialed player, but a physically imposing one as well, and she's going to tower over that South Melbourne back four and give Heidelberg a little bit of a different option in possession as well.
And she will be entering the contest at the expense of Catherine Vlahopoulos. Jarley only recently returning from Silver Fern duty, got some minutes against Wales in the second of their international window. Of course, must mention another NPL Women's Victoria player, Rebecca Stott, captained the Football Ferns in that game. Well, both games, in fact, as Maisels claims that one.
It's always good to see those sort of cross-league and cross-club crossovers that you do get quite a lot in the women's game. Obviously, there are two Perth Glory teammates who are seeing each other's faces tonight as well. Bella Wallhead and Claudia Miocic as well.
Murray, of course, has also spent time as a train-on with Melbourne Victory. Mazel's the backup. As
Mazel's and Iamano as well.
As Jarley getting involved early, as perhaps in response to her entry into the fray, close to the hour mark, we see the South Melbourne bench spring into life, start warming up. On their bench they have the backup Nat Pitchak, Bella Stringfellow, Cassie Carman, Karina Tolios and Emily Keppens.
I'm just thinking about it, Joey. Grace Jarley is almost the perfect player to bring on in this situation. Someone who can be sort of, when you've been up against it, assert themselves on the contest, you know, be a super intense presence that you expect generally from your subs, but just that physical threat as well that she poses just really forces you to act with a bit more apprehension if you're a South Melbourne midfielder or a South Melbourne defender even. Well, she's got form as well for scoring in the cup. I think she scored a brace, if memory serves me right, in that wild 6-3 game after extra time against the Preston Lions. Well, we might even be heading in that direction ourselves here.
Indeed, Lockie Flanagan. Extra time and penalties if required this evening. As now Lawson whips a ball across the face. It's beaten everyone. A big ooh rings out from the grandstand across from us here at Jack Edwards Reserve as South unable to meet that one. Would have just needed a faint touch, and it's 3-2 to the side in all blue. Another opportunity mayhaps now. Lawson sends it in quickly. Falls to Taranto. Had the power. Couldn't keep it down.
Can't hold it against her for trying, I don't think. I mean, maybe some would think that an attempted bicycle kick and an attempted half volley in a single game is maybe a little bit hungry, but that's okay. She's obviously scored the equalising goal for South Melbourne. I think well within her rights, Grace Taranto, to have another speculative effort. Just wondering if maybe there's something about that Edwards Street end here that is causing some problem for the goalkeepers, because we've seen both Jenna Farrow and Mel Maisels have their heart-in-mouth moments as they've defended the goal at that end.
Sandul closed down by Jarley. South in the end just forced to look for territory rather than possession. Roach riding the challenge of Taranto. Switch potentially on for the Burgers, or an opportunity to drive through the middle. In the end, they'll opt for neither. To Mazel's in the Burger goal, and she'll look for Wise. Striker knocks it down, but not to a teammate's advantage. Yamano. Francesca Yamano. Ball dribbled across the top of the penalty area, can only find Roach. Well, Katgoff steamed forward and then just gave it a little poke to put the ball out for a Burger throw-in.
It's the kind of challenge high up the pitch you can afford to make when you've got afterburners, or the afterburners that Cat does have to call on.
Do you think maybe if we are headed into extra time, Lockie, I mean, the rather intimate confines of Jack Edwards Reserve normally aren't the most conducive to long balls over the top, but do you think if we do head into extra time, we might see Cat Goff thrown forward and maybe some long balls over the top for her to run onto?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a logical option in any sort of late game scenario where increasingly the lines do become stretched.
It's Wise, sends it in, top of the box, Galea, she can't get a shot off. Is this the moment? No, it's not. Burrows can't get the shot down in time. Score remains 2-2.
Big chance for Burrows. Really the only, from my recollection at least, distinct shot on goal that, or in this case off goal, that the Burgers have had to call on in this second half, but look at another one here as they've won back possession very swiftly.
Jarley. Wallhead, who's come forward from the back line, wins a throw-in, stays up to take it. Jarley again. Burgers appealing for a handball. Nothing coming from the referee, but they'll retain possession. Parbury. And he's the Burger fan base, roars to life behind the goals here at Jack Edwards Reserve. That ball poked through, Pickett. Caitlin Pickett, she's round one, kept her feet. Caitlin Pickett! Oh. Melissa Maisels comes up absolutely huge.
That is a clutch save from Mel Maisels. I think Ellie Torre should probably be sending her a thank you note at the conclusion of this game, depending on how the result goes, because she was absolutely burnt by Caitlin Pickett, and fortunately for her, bailed out by her experienced teammate. Ripping save.
Sanzu now, one hand goes up, ball whipped in. Pickett. Ooh. You have seen those, Lockie Flanagan. You have seen previous occasions players running at it like that, just absolutely rocket off the boot and into the top corner, haven't you?
Especially at this venue. I mean, I don't know how many viewers are familiar with Jack Edwards Reserve.
Lawson's ball in, sent clear by Torre. Yamano comes under pressure from Jarley. The latter comes away with it, but then her pass is wayward. Jarley turns it over once more. Lawson gets the ball in. Nobody waiting for it. Lawson, of course, striking just before half-time with a cross-come shot that beat Maisels.
It's been one of the big differences, I think, in this second 45, Joey, is actually how much better South Melbourne have been in the wide areas. Obviously, they did score directly from across in the first half, but other than that, they didn't really manage to get too many balls into the area that had much promise, other than a few corner deliveries from Akeisha Sandhu. But it's been a very different story in this second half. I also think Holly Murray has had a better performance than she does. Very critical of her in the first half, but she's been a lot more involved in that earlier phase of play and is a bit more revved up, is using the body a little bit better to protect the ball and help to construct moves. There's been a few times we've seen where she's thought about clearing it away, getting it out into touch and just giving Burgers a free ball effectively.
So that ball sent in by Taranto right in front of the south dugout.
But in those moments where it would have been very easy for her to do that, we've seen her in this second half just show a bit more composure and pick out a teammate, which has certainly, I think, helped South very much regaining a foothold in this game.
Taranto looking for Pickett. Caitlin Pickett trying to poke a pass through. Ball falls to her once more. Only for the Burgers to steal away. Potentially a chance in transition. Galea wanted Jarley on the right. Was challenged as she sent the pass forward. Didn't allow her to make proper contact on it. Burgers retained possession, however. Wise, back to Jale. Burrows feints across. Had to get rid of it quickly because Candilas was waiting. Roach. Just sent it really between two teammates there. Neither could come up with it, but Burrows ensures that the Burgers retain possession twice. And on the third occasion, just a bit of a hip and shoulder on Holly Murray. Play on. Lawson on the right. Kat Goff to her left. Goes down under the sliding challenge. Adjudged to be a fair one. And now there's space for the Burgers to operate in. But they're just... Lockhart eventually explodes. Lockhart sliding it across. Grace Jale. Grace Jale. Farrow gets down to keep her out.
Yeah, good work from Akeisha Sandhu defensively there. Just was so tight to Grace Jale that she couldn't really get the angle to goal that she would have wanted. Had to shoot a little bit tighter, and in the end that made it a simpler equation for Jenna Farrow.
Yamano now sends it out to Lawson again. Lawson into the middle. Taranto meets it, knocks it down. Candilas feints. Poked clear. Sandhu, Murray. Galea keeping her company, keeping her honest. Pickett sends it to nobody but Burger players. Wise is glancing header, keeps it alive a bit, forces Farrow to come out. Michic's ball is good. He's going to find Lawson in space on the right. Teammates in the middle. Lawson, low cross in. Candilas meets it. Maisels denies it. Ball was knocked out of her hands, but referee Shabroshan adjudges that was a foul on the Heidelberg custodian.
It's that right flank in particular that really has helped to pivot the contest. You would argue at this point in favour of South Melbourne on the balance play, at least in this second half.
That Lawson's growing into this game massively, isn't she?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. She's been really critical, and conversely on the other flank, Keely Lockhart, we haven't seen too much of her, but she's back on the ball here now.
Lockhart on a hat-trick, trying to slide the ball across there for Wise. Results in a goal kick, much to the disdain of the Burgers fans behind that goal. And I have to say, just one aspect of this second stanza, I think Lockie Farrow, it wouldn't be often that she has to actually operate in front of a hostile opposition fans, but she hasn't wilted. She hasn't made any errors that have gifted the Burgers back the lead.
Not at all. And look, given how shaky her first 45 was in many respects, you could have forgiven her for doing so, but good job.
South coming in again. Maisels isn't being beaten at the near post like that. So 20 minutes to go here in Melbourne Southeast. Score remains locked at 2 goals apiece. Lockhart goes from range. It was dipping, but not dipping enough.
It's still promising for Heidelberg, though. I mean, as I was saying before, I think the first sort of 20 minutes of this second half, we barely saw Keely Lockhart, but last couple of drives, she's been able to create a chance for a teammate, have a shot herself.
Now the turnover comes in. Lockhart trying to use that muscle. Doesn't come off. Wise picks it up. Burgers continue to press. Long effort, Farrow. Not the tallest goalkeeper in the world. Had to jump, but makes the collection.
That's the other player in this second 45 that we haven't seen nearly enough of, Joey, is Danielle Wise. Probably count on a single hand the amount of times that you've had to call her name so far in this second half. Again, a player who maybe needs to get on the ball a little bit more for Heidelberg if they're to grab a third goal and control of the game.
Well, Roach looking for Galea there. Hundulas got in the way. Bought time for Jenna Farrow to collect.
I'm going to speculate, Joey, that Angeliki Hundulis is actually the younger sister of Tassos, because I can see him sitting against the fence in the crowd there.
Well, there you go. Your observational skills remain unmatched, Lockie Flanagan. Now we can observe Lawson going down the right, looking for that byline once more. Low ball in, sent clear. It's 3-2. It's remarkable. From 2-0 down to 3-2. South Melbourne. A Nike FC Cup final bounce, perhaps. Oh, it's remarkable. Candilas has put South Melbourne up 3-2.
And it was a set of events, a circumstance that I don't think many were giving South Melbourne a chance of right before the half-time whistle. But that goal from Jana Lawson, you think back to it, we said it was important when they made it to 2-2. It's become essential now. South Melbourne, unbelievably, have completed a turnaround to lead in this game. They were under the pump repeatedly in the first half against Heidelberg, but they have come out, I'm willing to say it, they've come out of this, in this second half, a different team, and you could almost argue that the lead is a deserved one, but can they hold on to it? That's the big question.
Remarkable turn of events, not just tonight, but just in general. Losing 4-2 on the weekends.
And they've lost 4 on the bounce, Joey.
They've lost 4 on the bounce in the league. Announcement this morning that their coach had parted ways with the club. Statement said it was mutual. But now, and then they went down 2-0, but now they're pushing, looking for maybe a fourth. Caitlin Pickett slices it wide.
The phrase, and you brought it up before, Joey, magic of the cup, it can get thrown around, jokingly sometimes by certain people, but this is absolutely delivering, I think, on that maxim, given the set of circumstances that you outlined before for South going into this game. It's unbelievable to see them not just lead, but lead in the manner in which they currently do. Quite astounding stuff.
Roach keeps her feet. Wanted the advantage paid. At least her side will retain possession. Ellie Torre over the ball. Now perhaps is this a moment. You've got Wise in there, you've got Galea in there, Jale in there.
They've been pretty vulnerable from set pieces this season, South as well. Big test for them.
Georgopoulos bends it in, can't beat the first defender. Pickett chests it down. Galea on the right. Well, I remarked, healthy shove there from Roach. On her opposite number, Holly Murray. Well, because I did reference in the first half, Lockie, that when South got 1 goal back, Steph Galea looked like she'd taken it personally. How do you think she's feeling now? You know how competitive she is.
I'm sure there is some serious internal rage. I guess that Jono Clemente will be hoping that Steph Galea can channel that internal fire into a goal potentially to save this result for them, maybe even more. I mean, her form this season is enough to suggest that she's got the capability to throw a team like Heidelberg and on her back and change the outcome of a game like this.
So now we see Emily Keppens preparing to enter the fray for South Melbourne. She'll replace Candilas, who made it 3-2 for South Melbourne. Completing this remarkable comeback in a game that's final chapter certainly hasn't been written. You feel like there is one more goal in this game, don't you, Lockie Flanagan? At least one more goal.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, 15 minutes, more than enough time. Heidelberg obviously behind, but they will feel, I think, still pretty comfortable that they can find a goal and maybe more. I mean, it wasn't all that long ago in the Cup that they were, as we mentioned earlier, run down to the wire against Preston 2, and they managed to pull out the result there. If memory serves me right, they were trailing in that game as well.
Roach gets it through to Wise. Rides the challenge. Corner kick awarded. Of course, Preston Lions aside, while judging off form in the VPL women's competition, a side that both South and Heidelberg will have to get used to playing. Looking likely for promotion. First year we will have promotion into the NPLW in 2023. Much overdue as Galea sends it in. Was met by Lockhart. But comfortable for Farrow. As we see the Burgers also preparing to make a change. Eve Tiktakakis, promoted through the Burgers junior ranks. Knows where the goal is at least. Scored 5 goals in 12 games for their under-19 side in 2021 before the season was canned.
Oh, we actually saw her in the last meeting between these two sides in the league line up directly against Jana Lawson on the flank, if memory serves me right.
Hold that thought, Lockie, as South are coming forward again. Candilas, who's remained on the park after it initially looked like she'd be coming off. Mijicic dances around her opponent. Ball looking for Pickett over the top. Burgers continue to come forward. Roach looking for Wise. Can't knock it down on her knee. Galea. Header in the vague direction of a teammate. Eventually it works its way to Torre. The two veterans linking up. Coach John O'Clemente serving as a ball kid there, and only to turn around and see that it was a south ball. Yeah, I'm not going to, well, you don't need me to tell you what he was feeling based off that reaction. As the change is made, Tiktakakis makes her way onto the pitch, replacing Ellie Torre. So a bit of an attacking change.
Fascinating. Interested to see how it's going to shuffle things. Does Tiktakakis slot into fullback? I think she does.
Now Lawson can run this one down. She'll have Lockhart beat for pace. However, she won't have Parbury beat for pace, who gets across. But
I'm maybe slightly surprised to see that she's not going on to Lawson as that direct matchup, because they did have such a good battle with one another last time the two sides met. And Ellen Parbury comparatively is found they're going pretty tough against Jana Lawson in the second half, as we are finally going to see that substitution, Joey.
Keppins coming on, replacing Candilas. So Emily Keppins was entrusted with starting against Box Hill on the weekends for South Melbourne. So this isn't a case of a Hail Mary. The number 42 starting games for Hellas in the past. Looking for an early touch. Instead has to watch on as her opponent heads it away, and then free kick for the Burgers with, well, here we go, Lockie. Under 10 minutes remaining. Do you think we're getting free football? Do you think we're getting an extra half an hour, or can South hold on?
I just have this feeling. That we might see a bit of extra time. Well, not a bit of extra time, 30 minutes to be exact, added onto this game. I just think, look, Heidelberg, for the most part, have been a mile off in this second half, and particularly a mile off where they were, the bar they set for themselves in the opening 45. But I just think they've got the individual talent there, particularly in an attacking sense, to pull something out of the hat. Might even see it here.
Wise down the right flank. Danielle Wise took a touch off a South Melbourne player. Corner kick for the Burgers.
And that a great result for Heidelberg. I mean, every set piece is good, but particularly one against South Melbourne, because they have in the league conceded from 5 corners this year, which is the most of any side. So corners mean a little bit extra when you're playing against South.
Pack forms. Frantic chaos in the box, eventually cleared. Surely, like, what corners mean to the Burgers, there has to be something about the corners being better at the Burgers or something, or the Burgers being better at the corners or something.
There's something there, but I'm not sure if I'm willing to enter into it.
Need the Burgers to sign a player called Jack.
I've already made one terrible Bella Warhead related joke. I'm gonna stay at one for the evening.
Throw in by the Burgers. Appeals for a handball. Looks as though those will be rewarded. Free kick, Heidelberg, dangerous area. And you can see immediately, unlike in the first half where the Burgers had a few players back covering, even though South had everybody in the box, Burgers getting a lot more numbers forward on this occasion. Looks like Tiktakakis will be the only player not in a position to play some role in an attack. You could say even Parbury's there to make a late arrival into the box with a run.
Interesting.
Galea. High ball in. Farrow has to watch it and she makes the claim. Wouldn't have found the net had she avoided it, but didn't want to take the chance of it falling to a player in yellow and black.
Oh, but that was a really, really important claim nonetheless. Given some of the hairy moments she suffered through in this game.
I mean, in light of those hairy moments, Lockie, do you think Galea would have been within her rights there to try that? I'll get your answer after this play. Tiktakakis sends it in. Lawson's come. Lawson's missed it. Goff boots it clear. And now Keppins. Can South get forward in transition? No. Keppins' pass intended for Yamano is heavy. But is it now getting into shoot on-site territories for the Burgers, do you think, Lockie? Just make Farrow beat you?
I mean, I wouldn't say that unless I thought that the Burgers had the capability to do it, but they absolutely do. I mean, we certainly know that Danielle Wise from set pieces, Steph Galea, and in this game, Keely Lockhart can strike through a ball.
And Jale.
And Jale, yeah, absolutely. So there's more than enough options to merit that kind of a policy.
Mijicic on the ball now for South. Have to admire the low socks, black boots look. Proper footballer. Ball's going to fall through. Well, Murray just asking the question.
Actually, Joe, if you're going to dip into football sartorial for just a brief moment, I must say I'm a bit surprised to see that not a single outfield player has donned the gloves this evening.
They build them tough in the NPL Women's Victoria, Lockie Flanagan. As Roach loses the ball. Yamano stealing it away. Kat Goff. Lawson now, found by Yamano. Looking for Keppins. Booted clear by Wallhead. And it will be a Heidelberg goal kick. And look, you can see Heidelberg, Lockie, they've got a couple of players nominally warming up behind the goal there of Maisels, but they're more acting as ball kids at this point, just so they can get play going quickly. As they now come up the other ends, Jale rides the challenge. Facing the right way, Ghosts round one challenge. Trying to find Galea. Eventually it makes its way to the Burgers captain. Back to Jale. Her cross blocked away. Doesn't know where it went. Trying to use that big body. Doesn't come off. And South. A moment of respite. Roach. Yamano. Oh, she's like a pit bull. Winning the ball back in the midfield. Yamano. Taking it towards the corner flag. Have we now reached that point, Lockie Flanagan?
It's tense, Joey. It's tight. It is. We've already had some cup magic. Be dipping into that pot even further. Or that cauldron, even. If we were to see yet more. I guess a goal either way would be super decisive. You'd think.
Well, if South scored here.
Heidelberg have got a goal in them. Have they got 2 in the time that would remain? I mean, South could seal it from this drive.
Well, alas for South Melbourne fans, they are very familiar with conceding 2 in 2 minutes. Box Hill did it to them late in the first half, just on the weekends. But then again, I mean, there was a half-time break in between them, but South did it to Heidelberg tonight. Keppens just poking at goalward. Maisels collects. And then boots it forward. It's going to bounce. Wise trying to get underneath it. Big battle with Yamano. Eventually Wise comes away around Pickett. Oh, feeling really now in this one. Chabrochan just coming across to calm us all down. Consult with her assistant there on the right side as well.
I think it was Angeliki Hundulas who was just sort of getting in the way potentially of a Berger's assistant coach to try and stop it from ending as a Berger's quickly taken throw, and indeed she's going to be punished for that attempt to interfere with the player. She goes into the book.
Berger's trying to make a change, and they will make it. And yet Giorgio entering the fray.
That is...
Are the fans behind the goals barking?
I almost don't want to answer that question.
Remarkable. Berger's trying to lock it in. Tension really becoming thick here at Jack Edwards. Heidelberg trying to come again. Giorgio. Early touch. She's fighting for it. Taranto. Last came off. Heidelberg. So South Melbourne throw in. 30 seconds of regulation remains here at the home of the Oakley Cannons. As it stands, South would be through to the Nike FC Cup final. Pickett plays it down for Taranto. A fourth would kill it. Keppens wanted it back. Offside. And now here we see it's all important. Is that a 5, Lockie? We can't. There is a 5 on the board, however.
3, I think.
It's
3.
3?
I was going to say,
yes.
There's no reason to suggest that it'd be such a large amount
well,
of stoppage.
3 minutes of added time here. 3 minutes for the Bergers to find a third goal and send this one into extra time. Turnover. Finds Wise. Sliding challenge.
What a challenge.
Miocic.
What a challenge.
The rock at the back for South, coming up big when her team needed her.
So important. Danielle Wise could have been through on goal, but for that intervention.
Wallhead. High ball forward. Miocic again getting in the way. Sanzel keeps it in. Still with the Bergers. Burrows has Galea on her right. Galea, 3 South players in the road. Yamano, she's been big in these last 15 minutes, hasn't she, Lockie?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been really impressed with just how much character South Melbourne have shown in this game. And thinking back to that game you referenced against Box Hill.
Oh, this ball in. Jarlay's lurking. Jarlay, one touch. Shot took a deflection. Allowed Farah to get down there.
Oh, cleaner first touch, and we might be talking about 3-3 Heidelberg. Maybe that's the chance for them going begging, but I'm glad you brought up that Box Hill game, because the thing that was remarkable for me is the minute they conceded that equaliser at Box Hill, this team just folded. They look completely different in terms of the character that's been on display here tonight. They were down by 2. few, including myself, were giving them much of a shot of working their way back into the contest. And yet, here we are.
Here we go. Well, I won't repeat what Yamano said, but needless to say, she's giving full-throated encouragement to her teammates.
And she scraps again to win that ball. She's...
Free kick. Burgers want to take it quickly. Murray not going to let them do that. What's going on here? Did Wallhead take it, or has she stolen a few yards, or she has stolen a few yards? This is not what you want if you're the Burgers. These things are just going to break.
John O'Clemente has just punted the chair that he's been using in this game to the turf.
Someone get that man an esky as the ball comes in. Sent clear by South, and then again. Pickett. The ball will roll out. Burgers throw in. It has to be now for Heidelberg. They have to find the equaliser now. That's not going to help. Sandu sends it up the touchline. Lawson winds up, sends it skyward. Jale can't control it. Galea. Round Sandu. Flicks it up for Wise. Sent out. A magical, magical evening at Jack Edwards Reserve. Look at what it means for South Melbourne. Down on the canvas. Down 2-0. They look dead and buried. They look gone. And somehow South Melbourne rose up off the turf and found 3 unanswered goals to book themselves a place in the Nike FC Cup final. Look at it, Cap Goff has just burst into tears. They can't believe it. I can't believe it, Lockie Flanagan. The Burgers can't believe it. South Melbourne are through to the Nike FC Cup final.
Wow, what a game. What an unbelievable game. I mean, the neutral, a massive winner. The only bigger person or group to emerge victorious, South Melbourne, because they have pulled off, and you, obviously when you're a commentator you want to try and remain neutral, you don't want to go into it with expectations, but they have pulled off a result that no one would have given them a shot of doing before kickoff. I mean, 4 losses on the bounce. The game against Box Hill last week where they were in front, coughed up, ended up losing. They showed really, really little fight in that game. They looked a mile off something like this, and yet fired up against the Heidelberg United side, who, let's not forget, were in control of this game, had the chance to make it a sure thing at 2-0. Danielle Wise missing an empty net to make it 3. And they weathered a storm of pressure. South Melbourne. And they've got their reward. Remarkable as it is, they've got their reward.
South Melbourne have perennially been the bridesmaids in this competition. 3 times finalists, 3 times vanquished at the last. But now, this side that nobody thought would do the job have given themselves that 4th opportunity, another chance to write themselves into the record books. A remarkable evening at Jack Edwards Reserve. The South Melbourne players, you can see them, they're going to huddle up in the middle. They'll get the team talk. Look at what it means to South Melbourne, Hallis. You said it best, Lockie. The only people that won more tonight than South Melbourne were the neutrals. A remarkable contest here at Jack Edwards Reserve. It ends Heidelberg United 2, South Melbourne 3. It's unbelievable. It's remarkable. One might say it's magical. My name has been Joey Lynch. Thank you ever so much for joining us tonight on this Football Victoria broadcast, live on the Football Victoria Facebook page, the Football Victoria YouTube page, or npl.tv. Make sure that you get around these remarkable teams, this remarkable league throughout the rest of the season on npl.tv. But for now, My name has been Joey Lynch. It's been my absolute privilege to be joined by Lockie Flanagan, but from Jack Edgewood Reserve, a remarkable night south of through. Look after yourselves.